Prior to the Civil War, Southern slave owners could make a quick profit in the domestic slave market.
A Moment in Time with Dan Roberts.
The growth of king cotton as the dominant Southern cash crop during the 1800s increased the demand for slaves. To meet this demand, slave owners in the tobacco regions of the Upper South who had excess slaves or needed to get out of debt would sell them in private transactions through a network of traders and auction houses. Domestic slave sales flourished in major markets such as Richmond, Charleston, and New Orleans. Slave traders, agents, and auctioneers advertised in newspapers far and wide. Prices as high as $1,600 for a young, healthy male slave were not uncommon before the onset of the Civil War. During the antebellum period, hundreds of thousands of slaves were sold south and forced to migrate. It is estimated that 1/3 to 1/2 of the slave families sold at auction houses were split up and almost never reunited. Following the Civil War, many slaves tried in earnest to find their loved ones. In the U.S., the largest organized sale of slaves took place on March 3rd and 4th, 1859, when 436 slaves, including children and infants, were auctioned off on a racetrack in Savannah, Georgia. The slaves were owned by Pierce Butler, who had inherited 2 Georgia plantations from his grandfather 20 years earlier. Butler was deeply in debt, and the auction netted him $304,000. Conducted on a dreary day of blustery wind, punctuated by soaking downpours and profound heartbreak, that day has been known historically in the black community as the weeping time. Ironically, Pierce's wife, Fanny Kimball, whom he divorced in 1849, was an Englishwoman and an abolitionist. Later in life, she published a scathing account of plantation existence in her work, Journal of a Resident on a Georgia Plantation, in 1838 and 1839. Her work describes the horror of slavery. It remains in print today. Next time, Slaves at War. This series is supported by the Jamestown 400th Federal Commission, with its international conference series on the foundations and future of democracy. See jamestownjourney.org. At the University of Richmond. I'm Dan Roberts.